Hey, what's going on, FSU fans? This your guy, Kelvin Hunt. Welcome to the Built for Playmakers YouTube channel. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, this will be something you can listen to. There's nothing really to see or anything, so appreciate you guys supporting as well. This particular episode, we're going to talk about the second scrimmage that took place on Saturday, as well as some injury information reports and things like that. But before we do that, I do want to recognize our sponsor. As you know, we've partnered with Cut, the social betting platform. Cut is a peer-to-peer betting platform that allows you to bet directly against your buddies and other fans. That's right. You can join the Believe FSU crew on Cut today and bet directly against, Florida, Clemson, Miami, any of your rival schools on your favorite sports, pop culture, and politic topics. Cut is the ultimate put your money where your mouth is platform, and it's legal here in North Carolina where I live, as well as Florida and over 40 other states. So be sure to follow at CutBet on all your social media channels and download the app via the App Store on cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use the promo code BelieveFSU for a 10% deposit bonus. But yeah, man, so FSU had their second scrimmage yesterday, and this scrimmage was more so closer to an actual scrimmage than the situational one that took place in the first scrimmage. And Mike Norvell mentioned that they had upwards of 115 to 120 plays. And one of the things that kind of caught my attention from what Mike Norvell was saying was, and I wrote about this on chopchat.com on Sunday morning, is what you notice is the transfer players that FSU brought in are beginning to kind of stand out and separate themselves as they get better acclimated to how FSU does things, how, they get accustomed to the scheme, playbook, terminology, all the good stuff. He mentioned that DJU had his best day so far. And you also heard names like Malik Benson, Roydell Williams, and it's good to hear, and it's nothing that I was surprised to hear. I know a lot of times FSU fans, going back to last year, we heard FSU fans complain about certain players maybe not living up to their billing or recruiting ranking as a transfer player or whatever their production was at the previous stop. But you have to realize that, we've only had the tour of duty workouts this spring, and then I think we're about halfway through spring camp with, I guess this is what, the fifth or sixth practice that we just had in the second scrimmage. And so, these guys haven't had a ton of time to really learn everything that they need to know. And so you're not going to just, hop into a new system or a new terminology, new playbook, and just, become experts. I think sometimes us, fans, we kind of liken this to a video game, and where you can just substitute a player out, put a new player in, and just kind of continue playing the game like nothing happened. But there's a human nature on this side of things where it takes time for guys to get comfortable and gain that confidence that's needed to perform at a high level, even though you've had previous experience. It's all about finding your niche, your role, becoming comfortable with your teammates, and a lot of times it's your teammates in that relationship can kind of dictate, how you contribute as well, because you have to learn their strengths and weaknesses. They learn yours. The coaches are still learning the strengths and weaknesses of the new players that are coming in, along with the new freshmen as well. So all of those things need to be taken into consideration when you're talking about the impact these guys will make. Now, of course, we still have several more practices in the spring. You have the summer, and then you have fall camp as well. So keep in mind of all the different reps these guys are going to get between now and the spring opener over in Ireland against Georgia Tech. So you're talking about a lot of reps, a lot of time to continue to develop in the system, to continue to develop on understanding what the coaches want to do in certain situations, the coaches understanding what the players are capable of in certain situations. And so I'm probably even higher on this team now than I was a few months ago, even before spring camp started. If you remember, I was the first person to really compare this year's team to the 2022 team, because there's a lot of similarities in that they're brought in a lot of players from the transfer portal, and you had a lot of unknowns as far as new quarterback. You need production at wide receiver. You needed production at wide receiver in 2022, and so you brought in a bunch of receivers then, and so looking back at what the coaching staff did with that group and winning 10 games, and probably should have won at least 11 if not 12 that year. I think the overall talent level on this team is higher than it was in 2022. And then you look at the competition and what FSU will face this year. There's not a whole lot of teams that can match up with FSU talent-wise compared to the 2022 season. You got to remember, FSU still was trying to get over the hump as far as just the overall talent level, and you still had a bunch of Clemson was still stacked at several positions. Wake Forest had guys that had been there 8 years seemingly, and NC State had a bunch of guys that were COVID players, super seniors, what have you. So they had a ton of experience that a still young FSU team had to go up against. That won't be the case this year. I think finally FSU can match, if not surpass, the talent level on those teams overall. And you look at the experience that DJU brings in to replace, kind of what Jordan brought in as far as experience goes. And then you just look at the offensive line, you look at the D-line, you look at the secondary. The biggest questions will be linebacker. And I thought it was good to hear that the coaching staff really started to name some names when it comes to the linebacker position. And Mike Novell seems like he's pretty happy with where those guys are. And, it'll be telling if the coaching staff decides to pursue another linebacker in the portal or not. If they don't, then they feel really good about where the linebacker group is. I still expect them to pursue someone. But one name I haven't heard a ton of is Sean Murphy. And, that's the Alabama transfer that was highly decorated coming out of high school. And that's another prime example, though, of a guy who, doesn't have a ton of experience. He's in a new situation, new terminology, learning the assignments and what the expectations are. And so I'm still not concerned right now. Now, if we get into fall camp and he's not progressing or seemingly, in the too deep or starting, then that's going to be a disappointment. But again, there's a lot of time between now and the first game. So sounds like Malik Benson has taken that next step as a wide receiver, had a couple touchdowns in the second scrimmage on Saturday. And I think he had a touchdown in the first scrimmage as well. And so, they brought him in to be the guy. He's only going to be here for 1 year and highly touted, all the physical ability in the world. And so that's good to hear. It was, I think Hakeem Williams made a couple plays, and it sounds like the receivers overall have kind of stepped up their game after performing, I won't say poorly, but with way too many drops in previous practices. And, so I heard a couple of the freshmen made a couple of plays. And hearing good things about Jaylen Brown. So one thing that I'll kind of just segue into this here is, the injury report. So, of course, a week or so ago, Mike Novell mentioned that Robert Scott will be out for the spring. Joshua Farmer will be out for the spring. And someone else that is Destin Hill now will be out for the spring. And so, Joshua Farmer and Robert Scott, not too worried about. Those guys have, Scott, we'll see. I mean, he missed most of last year, too, because of injuries. But Joshua Farmer, guy that has a lot of reps in the program. He knows the defense, knows the assignment. So really it's all about him just getting healed physically. As long as he heals up, I have no worries about him being out for spring camp. Robert Scott, we'll see if he can, get healthy and contribute this year. But Destin Hill, I wrote about this the other day on Chop Chat. Destin, he wasn't able to enroll last spring, so he got on campus this summer after being out of the game for 2 years. And so it really wasn't, even though he did a good job of staying in shape, he was in much better shape than most people thought he would coming off that long layoff. But still, your body, you can work out all you want, but it's not the same as being in an actual strength and conditioning program at the level of Florida State. And so I really wasn't surprised. I was surprised that he got on the field that early. I mean, he was in the game against LSU, which is a testament to how hard he worked and how quickly he caught on to things. But also, I wasn't surprised that he did get hurt during the season, just because his body just wasn't, used to that, just a taxing level of playing over and over and over and over and over again because he had sat out for so long. And so, he missed quite a bit of the season. So he wasn't an early enrollee last year, missed a lot of the season this past year. And now he's going to miss half of spring, and that's unfortunate because that's going to delay his development, the time that he could be getting reps. And it's not his fault. It's just reality. The time that he could be getting reps in the system and gaining that experience of practice, it's going to be spent rehabbing. It's kind of like the conversation we had with offensive linemen, where, if they play too early, then they get hurt and they have to spend time rehabbing instead of, spending time in the weight room, getting stronger, faster, bigger, working on technique and fundamentals. The same is going to be true for Destin Hill, a wide receiver. So hopefully, I don't know, there's rumors out there, I'm no insider, don't tend to be. And all I can go is on what Mike Neville said, and, he'll be out for spring. Hopefully he can return. And, but again, that'll be time missed that he could be spent getting better and just becoming a better player that can contribute this year. So what that does do, though, is it opens up the door for, a Jaylen Brown, a Vandrevius Jacobs, a LaWayne McCoy, Cameron Fryer, those guys that can continue to get more reps. And then there's an opening, there's a door open. Who want to walk through it, right? And so we'll see how that situation unfolds. Will that be a blessing in disguise to continue to create competition and develop depth at the wide receiver position? And I won't be surprised to see if we don't see some attrition from that position after this spring. There's a lot of bodies there, and you can only put so many guys out there. And so will those newer guys, will they supplant an older guy that just hasn't been able to stay healthy or get on the field or become a contributor? That's something that Destin being out can kind of help us figure out. And so that's something to stay tuned for. So it sounds like the freshman tight end Landon Thomas, Mike Neville said a few times that he's on fast track. And so that's probably not good for your older guys. Oh, the other name was Jarrell Powers, tight end, that's going to be out for the remainder of spring. That's probably not good for Jarrell Powers, to be honest with you. If Landon can gain these reps, and he's already kind of where Jarrell was, and Jarrell's out and not out there participating and contributing, that's probably not a good sign for Jarrell. It's probably telling you that Landon's going to be one of the first guys off the bench, so to speak. Sounds like Brian Courtney has made some plays there at tight end. He's athletic. He's an athletic freak. That kid, it's more so just, I think it's going to be the physical blocking game from Brian Courtney if he's able to get out on the field or not. We know Landon Thomas is, physically on the offensive side as far as catching it, can be a weapon. His deal also is the physicality of blocking and things like that. That's kind of the thing that hinders your young tight ends from getting on the field because, they struggle. They're not strong enough to hold up with the physicality of that part of the game. Sounds like Cal Morlock is beginning to come on a little bit stronger here over the last week or so, according to Mike Neville, which is good. He's your most experienced tight end. But again, you have to remember that he just came from a D2 school, just a year ago. And so even though he has a year of experience under his belt, he's still learning. And probably has a ways to go as far as his development to become a top guy. So it looks like the secondary sounds like it's going to be potentially even better than where we were last year. You got AZ Thomas, who seems to be the top tier guy. You know what you're going to get with Fentrell. And Shaheem, you know what you're going to get with him. And, sounds like he's been a vocal leader out there, which is good. And it sounds like these young guys that came in the 2023 class and, saw that Charles Lester had an interception there on Saturday. So, hey, man, it's good to see these guys showing up. And then you look at the D-line play and the O-line play. I expect the trenches to be another strong part of this team. And so when you put all that together, the running backs, the running back's going to be productive no matter what under Mike Norvell. So when you put all these ingredients together, man, I think FSU's going to be a real tough team to beat this year. And it should be in the running again to compete for an ACC championship. And which is where we want to be. That's the expectation. That's the standard. And if you do that and then you make the 12-team playoff, and then it's anybody's game. So, but again, appreciate you guys checking us out. If you still listening, we'd love it if you could like this video. The last video, we got a lot of likes and got some traction, even though we hadn't been out there in the algorithm for quite some time. So if you could just like that button, hit that like button for me, and comment. Let me know what your thoughts on the spring thus far. What are your expectations for the spring game? Let me know if you're going to the spring game. And I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. Until next time, go Noles.